I go down into the water, dive as deep as man can go.
Since from the age of about 3, I've spent most of my time under the water.
Exploring the blue.
As a child, you all dream of being dolphins and mermaids.
Do you feel like a dolphin? Do you feel like a mermaid?
Yeah. To some extent, yeah.
Ask any freediver and they'll tell you an essential truth.
The more time you spend underwater, the less time you waste on the surface.
At 27, Sasha Dench is Australia's premier female freediver. She can stay under the water for 6 minutes and plunge 50 metres on a lungful of air. A devotee of a depth-defying sport that's pushing the limits of human physiology.
After a dive, you come up feeling a lot more enthusiastic about life. You feel like you've achieved something.
Have you reached your boundary?
Not yet.
Do you know where it might be?
No, but I think that's half the pleasure of freediving.
1 minute 30 seconds. 1 minute 30 seconds to top.
This extreme sport is all about how deep you can dive, how long you can stay underwater. No air tanks, just lung power. You know what the pressure's like when you dive underwater. Well, just imagine what it's like 50, even 80 metres down.
Are we designed to do this? Well, I think there's enough of the primeval ooze being left in us to allow it to happen, because clearly it does. But no, we're not really designed for it.
Diving physician, Dr. Simon Mitchell.
And I suppose if we were, it wouldn't be a challenge. I think this is part of the issue for these people, that they are pushing new limits all the time and testing out their physiology.
This man is not drowning, he's actually competing. Now, this may not be the greatest spectator sport, but Martin Stepanak from the Czech Republic can hold his breath for over 8 minutes. And American Tanya Streeter can kick her way down to 70 metres and back up again on just a lungful of air. She's the best female freediver in the world.
It's not natural for us to put on scuba gear and breathe underwater. Technically, that's life support. It is natural for us to take a breath and swim underwater. I just feel like that out there is my proving ground, my learning ground. That's where I find out about myself. This is not a pretty girl sport, by the way. You have to spit in your mask, you have snot coming out your nose, you pee in your wetsuit. Your skin and hair is all crappy.
They're a breed unto themselves, but speak to any freediver and they'll insist they're just doing what comes naturally.
The reality is that as human beings, we're air-breathing mammals, just like the whales and the dolphins that you see out in the ocean. And we share a physiology that is inherent within us that gives us the ability to do this. I start off with an extreme exhalation, and then I just suck in my stomach and contract my diaphragm.
To prove her point, Tanya bet that with a little training and under supervision, I could hold my breath for 3 minutes. I would have thought 30 seconds was more my limit.
Because your lungs effectively go from here to here. But as adults, we breathe like just from our chest, which is nowhere near good enough. Okay. Just relax everything, just float like a dead person.
This is where I discovered that when you stop breathing, the level of carbon dioxide rises.
It's only that carbon dioxide that makes you think you need to breathe. The reality is that freedivers just override that urge. All right, done great. So I'm suitably impressed, and if you're suitably impressed, go ahead and come on up. Seeing as we have to do it for the judges. Big okay.
3 minutes?
Oh yeah, well over 3 minutes.
How much?
Let's see. 3:26.
Fantastic. Thank you.
But there's more to freediving than holding your breath. You have to be able to hold your nerve as well. This is Sasha Dench and the Australian team in training for the World Freediving Championships.
Look at the size of this shark. 3 sharks. Are you nervous? Is there just a little shakiness about going in?
Always.
The idea is, if you can relax here, you can relax anywhere.
Oh, Sasha. I think you're mad, but there is some method in this madness, isn't there? It does help you with the freediving.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the main elements of freediving, obviously, is relaxation and focus. So you have to control your levels of adrenaline. That's basically what it comes down to.
Control your levels of adrenaline with 9 sharks swimming around you. It's a concept I'm finding hard to come to terms with.
Come in the tank and have a go.
No thanks.
And now, the big event, off the big island of Hawaii.
10 seconds.
Freedivers from 18 countries competing for the World Cup.
2, 1, official time.
This is called constant weight freediving. Just the diver and the deep. The competitors have to swim down the line, pick up a tag at the nominated depth, then make it back to the surface safely.
First of our little ballistic torpedoes going off to battle.
4, 3, 2, 1, official top.
Walter Stein was the first diver for the Australian team.
It's a new Australian record.
58 metres.
Yeah, you just set the new Australian record just then.
Sasha Dench set a new Australian women's record. And Anthony Judge achieved a personal best. Overall, the Australian team finished 5th.
That's tops, the footy show in Australia. Yeah.
But really, freediving is a bit of a paradox. If you want to earn a living from the sport, you aren't free at all. It's about building a profile, attracting sponsors and breaking records. And with records comes risk.
All the time we're inching closer to theoretical maximum limits, and probably the danger associated with those efforts rises exponentially as you get closer to those limits. And so we may see more accidents as people push the limits deeper and deeper.
The main danger is called shallow water blackout. Near the surface, oxygen-starved lungs are expanding so quickly they can act like a vacuum, sucking the oxygen right out of the blood. That's what's happening here, right in the middle of the World Cup. The diver is Brazilian Carol Delto, and she's just lost consciousness. That's why there's a team of safety divers on standby at every competition. This was Carol's 3rd blackout in 4 days. And she's no rookie, she's a former world champion.
Will you dive again?
Yeah,
You're not
sure.
not scared after today's blackout?
No. I think that I need one day to relax. Just one day.
The potential, I think, on any given day, on any given practice session, that they may have a blackout episode underwater, and they'll die.
Dr. Neil Shakuma conducted the world's first group cardiac study on the freedivers competing in Hawaii, and he has just discovered another potentially fatal risk. It's called packing, swallowing air. Just before they dive, the competitors force as much extra oxygen into their lungs as they can.
The pressure inside the lungs actually gets higher and higher. Ultimately, that squashes the heart. And the heart, after a while, can only get squashed so much and then it cannot function anymore. And that's literally what packing is doing.
Yet the quest for depth pushes on. This is no limits freediving, and it's the sport at its most extreme. Here the diver rides a sled deeper and deeper until the pressure becomes unbearable. In August last year, Tanya Streeter smashed both the men's and women's world records by plunging 160 metres.
The great thing that I guess that I've been able to do for freediving as a woman is to have been able to surpass the men. There's no other sport in the world where a woman has held a world record that is better than the men's in the performance.
But tragically, only 2 months later, Frenchwoman Audrey Mester died trying to break Tanya's record.
Had she pushed it too far?
No, she had done the depth in training. She was utterly capable of that depth, and I believe that human beings are capable of going much, much deeper than that.
In no-limits diving, an airbag is supposed to inflate to propel the diver back to the surface. But in Audrey's case, the bag failed, and she was stranded 170 metres down.
Her safety divers should have had a lift bag, and she should have had the ability to, have the lift bag clipped to her so that she could be at the surface. And if she had that, she would be alive. And so that's why for those few of us who have been over 150 metres, it's very hard for us to accept that it's possible to die doing it.
But even world champions have accidents. When she was filming a documentary in New Zealand, the gear failed on Tanya Streeter as well.
I made a couple of mistakes. I stayed too long to fight the sled to get it to bring me back up again. And I was very aware of the television cameras that were waiting.
She wasted precious oxygen before abandoning the sled to swim for the surface. Tanya only just made it.
I realised the hard way that, I am just as vulnerable as everybody else to making mistakes. I know that I'm vulnerable to the same risks and things and to blackout, but to making obvious mistakes.
I go down into the water, dive as deep as man can go.
For these freedivers, life without risk is no life at all. The water tests whether they are made of the right stuff and gives them a high that life on land simply can't eclipse. Elite athletes living on the edge between discovery and disaster.
They're a breed unto themselves, these freedivers.
Oh yeah. Kind of a, crazy group of people.
Could you really call this Russian roulette?
I think so.
You can't deny the fact that we're doing things that have never been done before. So whether we're playing Russian roulette or not, I wouldn't class it like that. But are we pushing human endeavour in the extreme? Absolutely, of course.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9 Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.